Hello, in this video we're going to be looking at adding and subtracting fractions. So first off, what we're going to be able to do is adding and subtracting fractions which have the same denominator. Now if you remember from before, denominator is just the name for the number at the bottom of the fraction. So for example, if I've got 3/4, then the denominator is 4. Do you remember the name for the number at the top? It's called the numerator. So my numerator is 3, my denominator is 4. Okay, let's have a look then. So we've got a question here. We've got 2/7 and we're asked to add to that 3/7. So 2/7 plus 3/7. Let's have a look at what that looks like in this picture. So let's say I'm going to colour in 2/7 in blue. So this rectangle here is cut up into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces. So if I wanted to shade in 2/7 of it, it would look like this, I reckon. That's my 2/7 there. And if I wanted to add to that another 3/7, well, that would look like this. 1, 2, 3/7 there. And so if I'm adding them together, I'm looking at both bits. How much have I shaded in? Well, I think it's quite clear that the answer is 5/7. So what do I get when I do 2/7 plus 3/7? I get 5/7. And can you see what we've done there? All we've done is we've added together the 2 and the 3 to get 5, but the denominator stayed the same because I've got 2/7 and I've got 3 more 7ths, so I'm adding together some 7ths. The answer I get will be 7ths still. The denominator is going to stay the same. Let's try another example without this picture to help us. I've got 1/8 and I'm going to add on to that 5/8. So we'll do it like we did before. 1/8 plus 5/8 is going to be, well, how many eighths will I have when I add them together? I know that the denominator is going to be the same. I'm going to have 1 plus another 5 of them. That's 6, isn't it? I've got 6/8. Now what we should do at this point is we should check, do I have the simplest answer? And I think that I don't yet, because 6/8, what times table are 6 and 8 both in? Well, I think they're both in the 2 times table, aren't they? So we can divide by 2 on the top, and we can divide by 2 on the bottom, and that will give us our simplified answer. So 6/8, 6 divided by 2 is 3, 8 divided by 2 is 4, so my final answer is 3/4. When I do 1/8 plus 5/8, the answer is actually 3/4, because first off I add them together and that gives me 6/8, but then I have to simplify, and it's really important to remember to simplify our answers. Let's look at another one then. So in this question, got to look carefully, we're subtracting. I've got 4/5 and I'm going to take away from that 2/5. So 4/5, taking away 2/5, it works in exactly the same way as adding. I know that my answer is going to be 5ths, because I've got 4 of them, I'm taking away 2 of them, so how many am I left with? 2 of them, 2/5. And like before, we should do that quick check. Is this the simplest answer, or can I simplify my answer here? So 2 and 5, is there a times table that has both 2 and 5 in it? The answer is no, there's not one. So that's our simplest answer, that's us done there. This one here then, I've got 7/10. I want to take away from that 3/10. So I already know straight away my answer is going to be in tenths. So I've got 7 of them, I'm taking away 3 of them, I think that's going to leave me with 4 of them. And again, let's do that check. Do we have the simplest possible answer? Well, this time we don't, because 4 and 10, they're definitely both in a times table, aren't they? What times table are they both in? They're both in the 2 times table. So I can divide by 2 this 4, and I can divide by 2 on the bottom as well, divide the 10 by 2, and that will leave me with 4 divided by 2, that's 2, 10 divided by 2, that's 5. So 2/5 is going to be my answer here. So 7/10 take away 3/10 is the same as 2/5. There we go, that's our answer. And what did we have to do? We had to take 3 away from the 7, and that's how many tenths we've got, but then we had to spot that we can simplify that, so it's 2/5 is my answer. Okay, we're going to get a bit more complicated now. What we're going to start looking at now is adding and subtracting fractions with different denominators. So all the ones we've looked at so far, they had the same denominator. These ones are going to have different denominators. So I've got 1/2 and I've got 1/4. Let's do, like we did for that first example, let's do some colouring in. So I've got 1/2, so I'm going to shade in half of this shape in that yellow colour. And let's make 1/4 will be this sort of purpley colour. So I've got 1/2 and I've got 1/4. Oops. Yeah, that sort of works. So how much have I shaded in? Well, out of these 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces, I've shaded in 1, 2, 3 of them. So that must mean that my answer is 3/4. But what we're going to need to be able to do is to be able to answer that question without having to draw the picture. So let's look at this yellow fraction first. 1/2 was the same as 2 of these little boxes, wasn't it? It was the same as 2/4. So 1/2 and 2/4, those are the exact same thing, aren't they? So if I've got 2/4 and I want to add on 1/4, that makes sense that the answer is going to be 3/4. So what we have to do when we're trying to add together fractions where the denominators aren't the same, what we have to do is make it so that they are the same. So I changed this 2 into a 4, I doubled it, and so I had to do the same thing on the top. I took this 1, I changed it into a 2, I doubled it. So I multiplied everything in this fraction by 2, and that gave me an equivalent fraction that I can then add on to my 1/4, because now they've got the same denominators, I can add them together and get my answer of 3/4. Let's try another one. So here I've got 2/3 and I want to add on 1/6. 2/3 plus 1/6. Now at the moment we don't have the same denominator, so let's write them so that we do. Let's keep this 6 as it is. And can I change this 3 into a 6? Well, yeah, I reckon I can. I'm going to have to double it to do that, aren't I? So I'm taking everything over here and I'm going to have to double it, which means on top, instead of this 2 that I had before, I'm going to have to double it. So I've got 4. I've got 4/6. 2/3 is the same as 4/6, and the question is asking me to add on to that 1 more sixth. So I've got 4/6, I'm adding on 1 more sixth. The answer I've got is 5/6. There you go, 5/6 is my answer there. Because 2/3 is equivalent to 4/6, and then I added an extra 1 on. Let's take a look at a subtraction-y type question then. So this time I've got 9/10, and I want to take away from that a half. Now I can't do it straight away because they've got different denominators. So let's instead write it so they've got the same denominator. I'm going to keep this 9/10 as it is, and I'm going to change this into some tenths. So what did I have to multiply this 2 by to change it into a 10? Well, I've multiplied it by 5, haven't I? So the 2 multiplied by 5, that gave me 10. 1 multiplied by 5, what's that going to give me? It's going to give me 5, isn't it? So 1/2, that's the same as 5/10. So now I've got 9/10. I want to take away 5/10. That's going to leave me with 4/10, isn't it? 4/10. But wait a minute, I think there's some simplifying to be done there. What times table are 4 and 10 both in? They're both in the 2 times table, so I can divide by 2 on the top, and I can divide by 2 on the bottom. So 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. So 2/5 is my answer to this question. 9/10 take away a half is 2/5. Last example we'll look at then. I've got 2/3 and I want to take away from that 7/12. Right, I can't do it yet because we haven't got the same denominator. So let's write them both as 12ths. So this one's going to stay as it is, 7/12. This one I need to change into 12ths. So what have I had to multiply it by to change it into 12ths? Well, that 3 multiplied by what makes 12? I need to multiply by 4. Don't I? So we're multiplying by 4 on the bottom there. 3 times 4 is 12. I need to multiply by 4 on the top. 2 times 4 is 8. So now I've got 8 twelfths, take away 7 twelfths. What's that going to leave me with? Well, it will leave me with just 1 12th, won't it? Let's check. Can I simplify 1 12th? No, I can't. There's nothing that I can divide this 1 by. So that's my final answer. 1 12th is what I get when I do 2/3 take away 7 twelfths. Good stuff.